Hey Mumbi, this is Camille from Millennial Tarot here with your personal reading. Thank you so much for reaching out again and for your patience. Just a little advisory that my laptop is running out of battery, but I prefer to film here. But should it reach like a critical low limit, I might have to move in the middle of the video just so I can plug it in. So just in case that happens, it might not. Just wanted to make you aware. So it looks like we have one question here. You were seeing somebody, and it ended, you cut him off, and you're just kind of wondering if you guys will have contact again in the future, which might mean that you still kind of like him or have unfinished business, and how soon that might be. So a couple weeks or a couple months. So I'm going to go within and see what tarot can parlay about this. Alright, I'm going to do it 2 more times. Alright. Okay, so we do have some communication coming up here. Let me just clarify this really quickly. There needs to be a little bit of healing around the topic of conversation. And there we pulled the Queen of Cups. So we're coming into this reading, energies of the Magician. Really beautiful energy to set off the reading, and then we move into this King of Swords, which is a communicative card. Swords always having to do with our thought processes and how we communicate with others. Now we have the Eight of Swords, which is kind of telling me, even though this is loosely past, present, future, it's still telling me that however you cut him off, this is a cutoff card, it was done so in a way that was a little bit contentious, which is why I think there needs to be some healing around it. So the Queen of Cups did come up to clarify that Eight of Swords. And then we have the Sun card as your bottom of the deck. Now I'm just looking down. We have the Knight of Swords, which is another communication card, and then right under that, the Five of Swords. So without really going too deeply into that, some people do keep pulling cards to weave a narrative, but with the Sun kind of coming out as your bottom of the deck and this reading kind of being inundated with a lot of Swords cards, it does indicate to me that the blanket answer to this question is yes, there will be communication. Now, how that communication is coming out to me feels a little stifled. It feels stifled both because things might have not ended on a good note. You know, when we have this King of Swords coming out here in the present position, and then you're saying that you cut him off for different reasons, there could have been a little bit of distance, detachment, or coldness in the way that this relationship has ended. But then we do have these two very warm, very bright, and very intentionally positive type of major arcana cards that are kind of bookending this reading. And the Magician coming up in this first position, you know, I like to say it a lot, but it's kind of like as above, so below. As I think, so I will become. And it's kind of like the dealer's choice card, that being your choice. So as far as reaching out and communication, this is something that can be done should you want it to be. Does that make sense? Now, we do have a lot of communication cards coming up, but this Magician card setting off the energies of the reading says that there needs to be some type of alchemical healing around it. There needs to be some type of reframing. Now, whether that is happening in the conversation itself or whether you just have to kind of get your mind right about what was done that you would cut him off in the first place, this Magician card says that you are more than capable of kind of seeing this from a different point of view, healing from it, evolving past it to get to the point where if you guys do communicate again, it's something that's healthy, it's something that is productive, If apologies are needed, then it becomes a reconciliation, and it becomes a way in which you feel less burdened. Because when we have the Sun card coming up around these heavy swords cards, it says to me that you feel a little bit burdened either by the communication that was had, how the communication ended, or the fact that communication is not there anymore. So when the Sun is coming out and the Magician is coming out, this is saying that this relationship has prime potential to be healed and to make you feel less burdened, even if moving forward in the relationship with him continually is not in the cards for you, or you don't want that. You will find that should you, it's all in your hands, I'm getting here, especially because you're coming up as this King of Swords. It's really a decisive factor. It's really the king is the one who's making decisions on behalf of his kingdom. You are making decisions on behalf of your life and how you choose to experience your life. So whether or not this is a relationship that will continue to unfold, I am getting the sneaking suspicion that there needs to be some type of conversation because it was not left off properly. Now, whether or not, because the Five of Swords did kind of peekaboo here, whether or not there was an actual argument, who's to say, but, you know, like I said before I was shuffling, is there some unfinished business? And when there's unfinished business, when there's no closure, we can kind of end up in this Eight of Swords place where, you know, she's blindfolded, she's holding herself hostage to thoughts about a situation, she's holding herself hostage to how the conversation was. You know, this Eight of Swords has all the swords around her, and she can easily just walk free and see very, very clearly where all of her swords lie. So this is kind of being in this place, especially with the King of Swords. There's this dichotomy of energies here because the King of Swords is very what am I trying to say? Upfront and deliberate, and he's like, I want this, 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 and this. I think about this, this, and this. Very rational, very clear, very objective, and good at getting what he wants. Now, it's also a very cold energy. So you need to work within yourself about how you're communicating with people. If it's cold, if it's detached, if you are using communication to manipulate a situation, either by not communicating at all or being really mum about your communication, like one-word answers, or being unnecessarily harsh. And then here, or he could also be coming up as this King of Swords. When there's readings about partnerships, it's both how you may feel and how he may be making you feel. But you would know for yourself whether you are this King of Swords or whether you're not, just by the language of your email. You cut him off, and then the King of Swords seen here, about to cut something, about to wave his sword, has me thinking that this is probably you. So we move from this place where you're confident about your decisions, and then you're like, oh no, like, should I have said that? Should it have been like this? Blah, 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 blah. And really what I'm getting here is that there needs to be some healing around how you are communicating with people. Either it's specifically him, or you could have done this better, or you shouldn't have said that, or you should have said that, you know, coming from a place where you might have felt disempowered by the relationship, and so you had to go all the way above and beyond and be as harsh as possible in cutting him off. This Eight of Swords kind of sees you a little bit in turmoil about the conversation itself, around communication in the relationship itself, and how you were thinking about the communication. Now, the Eight of Swords and swords in general are the easiest to play with to me because our thoughts are easily changed with our proactivity. So if the way we are thinking is making us feel something, or is especially making us project something, then the healing solve to that is to then just change your thinking. So this Eight of Swords, though it looks a little bit daunting, it comes with a promise of if you change your thinking around this relationship, around the person, around communication in the relationship itself, it's something that could be easily healed. And you have all your swords here. You have all the swords on the table. So what does that look like? This looks like clear thought. This looks like mapping out what happened and what's going to happen in the future, and how fast and how quickly you want it to happen. I will say that Swords cards and the King of Swords, you know, are very quick and swift. Air is fast moving all the time. So this is not something that I see taking several weeks. This is not like a Pentacles type of situation where you really need to think about it, or Hermit where you like really need to be in the darkness, or the Moon card where you really need to retreat. You know, these Swords cards are a little bit more action oriented. We think about air signs are more social and communicative. But I'm really hearing here that you have to be the one to reach out, because if you're coming in as this King of Swords, you might have scared him away. Not permanently, but something happened where he was like, oh, I get it. Mumbi is like really not a fan of this. And you're putting up a very tough exterior. Now, what awaits under that tough exterior is this Queen of Cups, which is who you are really. I'm getting it's more nurturing. It's more nurturing of yourself and others. It's a psychic card. It's an emotionally strong card. She is the queen. Now here you are as the king. So we have a nice little correspondence between your yin and yang energies. And so in order to protect yourself from whatever was happening in the relationship, whatever went wrong, or the reason that you had to cut him off for different reasons, that could have been you really presenting this masculine side of yourself, quick decision making, and coldness. And then we have this outcome position here of once you kind of battle and ruminate and think about your own communication style, how he's communicating, and communication in the relationship in general, what emerges is this more more yin, feminine, receptive side of yourself. So, how does this look? Bringing it down from this more esoteric, archetypical place into practicality is just that you might have trouble in relationship with this specific person of letting yourself be receptive or soft, and then you kind of lead with this tough King of Swords exterior, cutting people off, being clear, being a little doggedly clear, or telling sharp truths, or speaking sharply in ways that you could be doing it a little bit more softly. And I'm getting that you're a little bit aware of that tendency, because we do see you here in turmoil over these thoughts and over these transactions of words. But I want to harken it back to the Magician card. This is something that you can transcend. This is something that can be healed. This is something that you have, with the Magician, the Pentacles on the table, Swords on the table, Wands on the table, and Cups on the table. So you have all the tools in the toolkit to kind of wrap yourself around this issue, and why it seems that you want him to reach out again, or why it seems like you want communication to pick up again. So there's all these factors that I've explained. Hopefully I've weaved it together in a way that makes sense. It makes sense for your situation. But as far as will he contact you, I don't think so. Or I'm not saying that's going to be easy for him, because you're really presenting as this King of Swords, where and then in the background, we have this kind of Queen of Swords energy, which is a little bit more, people would want to talk to you more. People would feel a little bit not on eggshells around you. Not to say that you need to fundamentally change your personality, just maybe tweak it in places with this specific person in this specific situation where you can be a little bit more receptive, and then that's how he will reach out. So I wanted to make sure, a couple of months, couple of weeks, probably within the new year, January. And then, of course, we spoke about the Sun card coming out and how this is anchoring the reading. So once you do get this clarity of thought around how you have behaved, and you do have this conversation with him about whatever broke down, whatever happened, it is a burden being lifted. Now, once again, this burden can be lifted and you guys can still go your separate ways and you've healed and you have closure, or this burden can be lifted and you guys can restart the relationship in a way that makes sense for you. But the general trend I'm getting here is to learn to balance this harshness, this coldness, this detachment, this I'm going to cut you off mentality, and how to reconcile that with the fact that you want him to contact you again. So those two energies are incongruent. So it's hard to be passive with your communication and then want other people to talk to you. There needs to be just a more unified front with how you are approaching this situation, not doing it too harshly, not disappearing, but also standing up for yourself and whatever seems to have happened, to make sure it does not happen again. So this has been my reading for you. I hope that you were able to get any sense and peace and clarity from it. The camera has not died, and I'm happy about that. Of course, if you need anything else from me, I am just one email away. I do hope that this video finds you well. Enjoy your holiday season if you celebrate. But that's it. Take care, be well, and bye.